namaskar. This is Firstpost and you're watching Vantage with me, Palki Sharma. We begin with China tonight, where the army is losing its top generals, not at the hands of an enemy, but thanks to their own president. In the last 2 years, he's fired some 30 top officials in the Chinese military, including 2 defense ministers, maybe a third one too. Why is Xi Jinping doing this? And what does this purge mean for the PLA? We'll bring you the full story. In Pakistan, will Imran Khan be finally released from jail? We ask because Donald Trump's team is pushing for it and the Pakistani government is engaging with Imran Khan's party. In the East, the Philippines wants to buy America's Typhoon missiles. We'll tell you why China is having a meltdown over it. In Syria, unrest in multiple cities. Can the new regime in Damascus protect the country's minorities? Despite Dhaka's hostility, India sends shipments of rice to Bangladesh as they struggle with rising prices. Donald Trump continues to mock Justin Trudeau. Even in his Christmas message, we decode the rift between the two leaders. Also, why Elon Musk now wants a town of his own in Texas. Why Mozambique remains in turmoil, now with a major prison break. What is the Annapurna certificate? That's been called India's answer to the Michelin stars. And how do you choose a New Year's resolution that you won't fail? All this and more coming up. The headlines first. Israeli airstrikes hit several targets in Houthi-held areas of Yemen. The Sana'a airport, a military base and a power station all come under attack. The Houthis slam Israeli aggression. The strikes come a day after Yemen fired a ballistic missile and 2 drones at Israel. Israeli Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir visits the Al-Aqsa Mosque compound in Jerusalem, triggering angry reactions from the Palestinian Authority and Jordan. Israel has had a long-standing ban on Jewish prayers at this site, but Ben-Gvir has repeatedly defied it. The Al-Aqsa compound has been a focal point of tension between Israel and Palestine. What caused the Azerbaijan Airlines plane to crash? A Ukrainian official claims the aircraft was shot down by a Russian air defense system, but Moscow and Kazakhstan play down the speculation. The Kremlin says, wait for the investigation to end. 38 people were killed in the plane crash on Christmas. China to build the world's largest hydropower dam in Tibet. The dam on the Brahmaputra River will be close to the Indian border. This has raised concerns in India and Bangladesh. The project could alter not only the local ecology, but also the flow of the river downstream. An undersea power cable linking Finland and Estonia breaks down. It's the latest incident involving telecom cables and energy pipelines in the Baltic Sea. Last month, 2 cables linking Sweden and Denmark were damaged. Tensions have mounted around the Baltic Sea since Russia's invasion of Ukraine in 2022. And South Korea's opposition moves to impeach its acting president. This comes amid a row over the composition of the Constitutional Court. The court will decide if suspended President Yoon Suk-yeol should be removed from office. South Korea has been in political turmoil since Yoon declared martial law on the 3rd of December. "2024 is winding down. For most of us, a new year means a fresh start. But Xi Jinping is not most of us. He believes in business as usual. For China's military, that translates into more turmoil and more of the president's vengeful cleanup drive. It began in 2023 with a massive shake-up. 2 defense ministers disappeared in quick succession. 9 generals were purged shortly after. It's been 2 years and the purge is only picking pace. Top military officers are being given the boot in China. On Firstpost, we track China very closely, but even for us, it's getting harder to keep up. In the last 2 days, at least 3 top officials have been sacked. 2 of them were fired today. Their names are Haitao and Pengcheng. Both served as generals in the PLA, the People's Liberation Army, or the Chinese Army. These generals also held key roles in China's parliament. Their job was to shape military laws. But one fine day, their membership was revoked and they were fired. Reason? The same old one that China gives: violation of party law and discipline. That's basically code for corruption. That's what they're accused of, corruption. But China hesitates to use the word corruption, especially when senior officials are involved. So they say vague things like violation of party law and discipline. That's the pretext for axing the top brass. And sometimes they don't even bother with that. They don't even bother giving a reason why someone has been fired. They just fire people. In fact, it happened 2 days back. A general was dropped from a key post in the PLA, named General Qin Shutong. Role: political commissar for the PLA's ground forces. Now, this is a very important post for the Communist Party. A political commissar's job is to instill party loyalty in the army. To keep the PLA loyal to the Communist Party of China, that is the job. But the man in charge of it has been fired himself, most likely for violation of party law. Although Beijing has not given an official reason yet, a new general will replace him, and this transition has raised eyebrows. Usually, such announcements are followed by a ceremony. When the new political commissar formally takes over, the outgoing general attends the event. That is the norm. It did not happen this time, though. General Qin was missing. And this has triggered speculation. And it gets murkier because there is no word on General Qin's next posting. He could be in trouble because his case fits a pattern where officials are axed and made to disappear. In the last 2 years, at least 30 such cases have been reported in China, and we are talking about top officials here. Also, these are the cases that we know about. There could be many more. These men are put through secret trials conducted by Beijing. And we have some very high-profile examples. Li Shangfu and Wei Fengyi both served as China's defense ministers. In 2023, they were removed on corruption charges, one after the other, and then expelled from the Communist Party. They vanished from the public eye. What happened to these men? Are they even alive? Have they been jailed? No one really knows. They have not been seen in public for 2 years. And the same could be the fate of the current defense minister. His name is Dong Jun. Reports say he too is under investigation, again over corruption charges. The reports came out last month, although China has aggressively denied them.
The Financial Times reported on the possibility of Chinese Defense Minister Dong Jun being investigated for corruption. What is the spokesperson's response to this?
It's just shadow chasing.
They're chasing shadows. That's what Beijing says about the reports on Dong. But you see, his status is not clear. He disappeared and made an appearance 2 weeks ago, but he did not address the allegations against him. As Beijing tries to manage the bad press, President Xi Jinping's military crackdown is very much on. Which begs the question, just how corrupt are the Chinese forces? Earlier this year, Xi Jinping made a rare admission. He said that China's military faces, and I'm quoting, the military faces deep-seated problems. Problems that he has failed to resolve despite years of purge and investigation. Clearly, the PLA is a compromise force. Xi Jinping wanted them to be war-ready by 2027. But at this rate, he will be at war with them. And by the time he's done, there may be no generals left to lead his forces. If this crackdown continues, military readiness would be the least of China's concerns. Will Imran Khan be freed from jail? It seemed impossible a few months ago, but now there is serious chatter. Western countries are putting pressure on Islamabad. They want Imran Khan out of jail, and leading the charge is the United States of America. Not Joe Biden, though. It's his successor, Donald Trump. Trump has named an envoy for so-called special missions. This mainly covers hotspot areas, countries like Iran, Venezuela, North Korea. His name is Richard Grenell. He served in the first Trump presidency as well. His name was also doing the rounds for Secretary of State. So we're talking about a key advisor here. And look at what he posted recently. Free Imran Khan. That's what he wrote. It's not some one-off post either. Grenell has consistently called for Imran Khan's release. He's compared his situation to that of Donald Trump, and he says that both men are facing political persecution.
He is currently in prison on a lot of the same allegations, just like President Trump, where the ruling party put him in prison and created some corruption allegations and false allegations.
Imran Khan was Prime Minister from 2018 to 2022. Donald Trump was President from 2017 to 2021. So their terms overlapped. But how is their relationship? A bit hot and cold. Trump hosted Imran Khan at the White House in 2019. He called him a dear friend and great leader. But the same Trump also cut off military aid to Pakistan. He accused Islamabad of betraying the US, of playing a double game on terrorism. So what explains the sudden love for Imran Khan? One reason could be the diaspora. There are more than 600,000 Pakistani Americans. Most of them supported Donald Trump. And that includes the PAC, the Pakistani American Public Affairs Committee. It's the most powerful Pakistani group in the United States, and look at what they said before the elections. I'm quoting. We believe Trump is the candidate who will secure the release of all wrongfully imprisoned political prisoners in Pakistan. The PAC is firmly pro-Trump and pro-Imran Khan. They also have close ties to Richard Grenell. He has praised this group a number of times in the past. He's also toured their mosque on Tuesday. So there is a domestic angle in this case. But is that all? We ask because it's not just the Trump camp. Even Joe Biden is turning the screw. This week, Washington slammed Pakistan's military tribunals. They also sanctioned Pakistan's missile program. Same in Europe and Britain. London also condemned the military trials in Pakistan, and the European Union went a step ahead. They have threatened to cut off a preferential trade deal with Islamabad. So what explains this pivot? And could it lead to Imran Khan's release from jail? Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif of Pakistan appears to be softening his position. He has formed a special committee for talks, a committee to explore a deal with Imran Khan's party. The party is called the PTI, the Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf. Today, Imran Khan's family and lawyers met him in jail. Afterwards, his sister revealed his demands. Listen to this.
आप 3 सुप्रीम कोर्ट के जजेस की सीनियर मोस्ट जजेस की आप एक कमीशन बनाएंगे. उन सीनियर मोस्ट जजेस के नीचे वो तहकीकात करेंगे 9 मई की और 26 नवंबर की. दूसरा मुतालबा ये है कि जो नाजायज कैद में लोग हैं इनको रिहा किया जाए.
So two demands, a judicial commission to probe last year's violence and the release of all political prisoners in Pakistan, basically his jail party workers. Now, Imran Khan has more than 150 cases against him. He's been in jail since May 2023. So if you abruptly release him, you lose face. You're basically accepting that he won. A more acceptable compromise would be a house arrest or reduced sentence. But there's a problem with that. Imran Khan says no house arrest. He wants to stay in jail and fight out the case. So things are looking up for Imran Khan at this point. It's too early to say whether he will be freed or not. But one thing's for sure. The West has discovered him again. He had become a forgotten story over the last year, but suddenly he's back on the radar. How did that happen? The change of guard certainly helped. Let's rewind to 2022 when Imran Khan was ousted. He blamed the West. He said the United States and Britain plotted his downfall. And who was in power then? Joe Biden and the Democrats were in power in the US and the Conservatives in the UK. Both those players have been voted out this year. And the new regimes are sympathetic to Imran Khan. In October, around 20 British MPs urged London to intervene. They asked the UK Foreign Secretary to push for Imran Khan's release. And one of those MPs was Jeremy Corbyn, the former leader of the Labour Party. Frankly, it's hard to pinpoint one reason for this pivot. It's a combination of Western politics and changing strategic realities. For instance, Shehbaz Sharif has pushed Pakistan closer to Western rivals. He's buying Russian gas. He wants to join the BRICS. And he's talking about a unified Islamic currency with Iran. Chances are the West does not like any of that. So Sharif and the generals have two options here: concede to Imran Khan or deal with Western pressure. His ministers are peddling desperate stories now. The defense minister of Pakistan has called Imran Khan an Israeli asset. He says the campaign for his release is also being spearheaded by Israel. Just classic Pakistani anti-Semitism. But either way, one thing is clear: there could be a churn looming in Pakistani politics. It goes without saying that India must be ready for it. Our next story is about China and the Philippines. A war of words is brewing between the two countries. Beijing is furious with Manila. China has been issuing warnings, giving lectures and turning its state media machinery against the Philippines. Why? Apparently because the Philippines has the audacity to try and protect itself. On Monday, the Philippine Army gave a press briefing. Their commanding general was delivering the year-end address. He spoke about the Army's future plans, including possibly buying missile systems from the United States. That lit the spark. And China had a meltdown because the Philippines said it was considering the Typhoon. The Typhoon is a missile launcher. It is a mid-range system capable of firing two types of missiles, the SM-6 and the Tomahawk. The SM-6 has a range of about 500 kilometers, which is roughly 270 nautical miles. Tomahawks have a much longer range, approximately 1,600 kilometers or 860 nautical miles. And the nautical ranges are important to note. They are the reason that Beijing is furious. Let's give you some context first. China is an expansionist state. It makes bogus claims on foreign territory. Then it sends its military to occupy the disputed regions. We've seen this in India, in Bhutan, in Vietnam, and of course in the Philippines. The Philippines has it rough. It lies in the South China Sea region. Beijing illegally claims the entire sea. This includes parts that legally belong to Manila, like small islands and atolls that lie in the West Philippine Sea, and other parts of the Philippine Exclusive Economic Zone, EEZ. An exclusive economic zone is a country's naval territory. It extends 200 nautical miles beyond a country's shores. Now, this is Manila's EEZ. As the name suggests, it should be exclusive. But Beijing does not care about international rules and laws. It regularly sends ships to Filipino waters to exploit their resources and to harass their maritime personnel. Remember, this is within the Philippines' EEZ, within the 200 nautical miles of Filipino shores. So now let's come back to the Typhoon system. As I said earlier, it fires the SM-6 missile, which has a range of about 270 nautical miles, which basically means that the Typhoon can help secure the entire Philippine EEZ. It gives Manila a last-ditch option in case Beijing's harassment escalates into all-out conflict. That is why the Philippines is keen on the Typhoon system, and that is why China is livid.
We once again advise the Philippine side that the only correct choice for safeguarding its security is to adhere to strategic autonomy, good neighborliness, and peaceful development. We are telling the Philippine side that China will never stand by and watch its own security interests being jeopardized or threatened, and that if the Philippine side is bent on having its own way, it will surely lift a rock and smash its own foot.
China has been issuing these warnings for the past few days, ever since the Philippine Army announced its intention to buy the Typhoon. But I should mention, it's not a done deal. Defense procurement takes time. All viable options have to be considered. The Philippines also has a rule. It takes at least 2 years to finalize any defense deal. Manila has not budgeted the Typhoon for 2025 either. So if this deal takes place, it will be far into the future. That being said, there is already one Typhoon system in the Philippines. The US deployed one of their own in the month of April for for joint drills with the Philippines. Those drills wrapped up a while ago, but the typhoon is still there. This could be an American sales tactic, getting the Philippine forces used to the typhoon so that there won't be any training time needed if they buy one. And this has further incensed China.
The Philippine side once said publicly that the Typhoon system would only be used for a routine exercise, promising to withdraw it upon the completion of the exercise in September this year. But then it changed its statement to say that it hoped to deploy the Typhoon system permanently, and it was even prepared to purchase the system. This is a typical case of breaking one's promise and reneging on it. At present, who are the ones who keep provoking the South China Sea? And who are the ones who are cooperating with the extraterritorial forces in showing off their force? And who is violating the law under the banner of international law? The countries of the region can see this clearly.
She accused Manila of making provocations in the disputed seas. She said they were the ones violating maritime law and fueling regional tensions. It must take tremendous flexibility to pull off mental gymnastics like that. Manila is standing its ground, though, saying its defense and security are not subject to any foreign veto. In fact, let me quote from their statement. This is what the Philippines said. If the Chinese Communist Party is truly intent on reducing tensions and instability in the region, they should cease their saber-rattling, stop their provocative actions, halt their interference in other countries' internal affairs, withdraw their illegal presence from the Philippines' EEZ, and adhere to international law. There isn't much chance of that happening, so Manila should do what's in their best interest. If they don't, Beijing is likely to take advantage of any openings they find. On December 8th, Bashar al-Assad fled from Syria. The regime fell. It's been 18 days since then. Syria now has new leaders. They have formed the government. There is talk of reform. The world is engaging with them. It looks like a new beginning for the country. Yet the past still looms large. Syria may be free, but still very fragmented. And that is giving rise to unrest. In the last 3 days, there have been multiple clashes in Syria. People have been killed, curfews have been imposed, and the new government is struggling to keep things under control. The first incident was in Tartus. It's a Mediterranean port city. Syria's security forces there wanted to arrest a former officer, one who was part of the Assad regime. But once they reached there, they were ambushed. Assad loyalists attacked them. The officer's brother intercepted the forces. Armed men attacked them. Their patrol vehicles were targeted. 14 policemen were killed. 10 others were injured. Soon, massive protests broke out in the city. The second incident was in Homs, another city in western Syria. Protests broke out here too, but this was over a viral social media video. It showed an attack on an Alawite shrine. The residents did not take it well. They descended on the streets to protest. There were some gunshots too. The Interior Ministry says the video is old. It's from late November when the rebel offensive was underway. They also don't know who attacked the shrine. They say it was by unknown groups. But that has not quelled the protests. And beyond Tartus and Homs, demonstrations also broke out in other parts of Syria, like the port city of Latakia and Assad's hometown of Kardaha. Now, all of these incidents have something in common. It is the Alawite community. They are a sect of Shia Islam, but they have their own distinct beliefs and practices. And this sets them apart from Shia and Sunni Muslims. The Alawites are one of the biggest minorities in Syria, making up for about 10% of the population. Historically, the Alawites were marginalized. They faced constant oppression, but that changed with Hafiz al-Assad. the father of Bashar al-Assad. The Assad family is Alawite, and they ruled Syria for 5 decades, which gave the community some serious clout. But now that the Assad regime has fallen, the Alawites face an uncertain future. Many of them fear revenge.
There is no need for the events that happened in Tartus, and HTS must hit those who went out in protest with an iron fist because we were under the control of a bad regime. While they're going out and doing all this chaos, there will be no civil war. All those were remnants of the previous regime.
Some of these fears are justified. Extremist rebel groups have threatened the Alawites before. There are videos of them saying that we will slaughter the Alawites. And all of this has alarmed the community. They fear that they will pay the price for Assad's crimes. But Syria's new rulers have been quite clear in their messaging. The HTS has reached out to Alawite leaders. They have tried to engage with the community. They have published multiple statements, all of them saying that minorities will be respected and that the real enemies are not the Alawites, but the people linked to the Assad regime.
There are two sects, the Alawite and the Assadi. The Assadi sect, who are trying to destabilize the security of our country, they will be burnt. Syria is ours. Syria is for everybody. It is not for the Assad family, and there is no fear in the new government.
We will have to see if the HTS sticks to its words. In the meantime, the Alawites are caught in a limbo. The mistrust between communities is deep-seated. They fear retaliation, and it's this fear that is feeding the unrest. The new government in Damascus is struggling to address it, and that perhaps is the biggest challenge for Syria's new leaders, to build a future without repeating the mistakes of the past. Can Syria turn its fragile peace into lasting progress? Or will old wounds reopen to define its new chapter? For now, all eyes are on Damascus. Now let's talk about India and Bangladesh. The two neighbors have struggled to find common ground. Mohammad Yunus's appeasement of Islamist forces and the calls to extradite Sheikh Hasina have strained ties. But there may finally be an opening. As Bangladesh struggles with inflation, India is stepping up to help. India is delivering rice shipments to Bangladesh. The first consignment arrived at the Chodagram port today. It was carrying over 24,000 metric tons of rice. Remember, rising prices have become a growing challenge for Bangladesh. Even the International Monetary Fund or the IMF is concerned. Indian shipments could help Dhaka control prices. But can they pave the way for a much-needed reset in the relationship? Our next report explores.
Meet the MV Tane's Dream. It's no ordinary vessel. It's on a mission of firsts. Today, it delivered India's first shipment of parboiled rice to Bangladesh. The ship docked at Chodagram port and marked a milestone for the two neighbors. The rice deliveries will help Bangladesh fight inflation. It remains well over 11%. Even the IMF or the International Monetary Fund has expressed concern. A team from the IMF recently visited Dhaka. It expressed concerns over the high food inflation in Bangladesh. The IMF believes it won't come down anytime soon, which is why the rice supplies from India are crucial and timely. But this delivery is about more than just rice supplies. This ship could potentially open doors and facilitate a much-needed reset in India's ties with Bangladesh. The relationship has been going through a turbulent phase. Earlier this month, Dhaka sent a formal request to New Delhi. It sought the extradition of Sheikh Hasina, the ousted Prime Minister of Bangladesh. Hasina had escaped to India when the student protests in August got out of hand. It forced Hasina to step down. The interim government in Bangladesh is now building pressure. It wants Sheikh Hasina to return and face a trial before the Dhaka-based International Crimes Tribunal. She faces serious accusations, including crimes against humanity. This extradition request will test India's efforts to stabilize the relationship. India made an outreach just this month alone. India's Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri had visited Dhaka. He met with officials from the interim government of Bangladesh. This included Chief Advisor Mohammad Yunus. During the visit, Ms. Shri highlighted how the two neighbours could benefit from a strong relationship, particularly on the economic front.
There is no reason why this mutually beneficial cooperation should not continue to deliver in the interests of both our peoples. And to that end, therefore, I have underlined today India's desire to work closely with the interim government of Bangladesh authorities.
India is eager to resume several bilateral initiatives, like the connectivity projects in Tripura. Tripura is a state in northeast India and shares a border with Bangladesh. New Delhi and Dhaka have set up a bridge and a railway line there. A special economic zone is also coming up, but the future of these projects remains uncertain for now. Economic cooperation could help bring India and Bangladesh closer once again. However, Dhaka has yet to signal positive intent. Beyond Hasina's extradition, there are other concerns like the targeting of Hindus in Bangladesh and UNICEF's outreach to Pakistan, a terror state which Bangladesh fought to gain its independence from in 1971. These moves may suit UNICEF politically, but in the long run, they could undermine Bangladesh's interests.
Most world leaders release Christmas messages. They talk about happiness, about peace, and sometimes about reducing divisions. Yesterday, Donald Trump also released a Christmas message. Let's just say it was very different. Let me quote from what he said. Merry Christmas to Governor Justin Trudeau of Canada. If Canada was to become our 51st state, their taxes would be cut by more than 60%. Their businesses would immediately double in size and they would be militarily protected like no other country anywhere in the world. This is from the incoming President of the United States. He is openly asking Canada to join his country. It was funny the first time. It was less funny the second time, but now it's downright insulting. Yet what is Justin Trudeau doing about it? Nothing. He can barely keep his government afloat. There's no way he can take on Donald Trump. But the running joke does raise questions about this relationship. Why does Trump dislike Trudeau? I mean, he's picked fights with other leaders too, but with Justin Trudeau, it seems personal. We can think of three reasons why. One is ideology. Trudeau bills himself as the liberal darling, whether it's on LGBTQ rights or minority issues or climate change, and Donald Trump is the exact opposite. He is the conservative darling. Secondly, Trudeau has a close relationship with Trump's arch nemesis, the man who drew Trump to politics, Barack Obama. Both of them share a very close bond. In fact, Obama endorsed Trudeau twice, once in the 2019 election and then again in the 2021 election. I bet Trump does not like that. Which brings us to the third reason, Trudeau's own actions in the first Trump presidency. Let me take you back to 2019. The UK was hosting a summit of NATO leaders. Trump, Emmanuel Macron and Boris Johnson were huddled together and Trudeau decided to crack some jokes. That too at the expense of Trump. Just one problem though. His so-called jokes were caught on a hot mic. Listen to this.
It was like it's a big 40 minutes.
Trump was understandably angry after seeing this video. He called Justin Trudeau two-faced. He also left the NATO summit early.
Well, he's two-faced.
Do you think that Germany's too nice?
And honestly, with Trudeau, he's a nice guy. I find him to be a very nice guy. But, you know, the truth is that I called him out on the fact that he's not paying 2%. And I guess he's not very happy about it.
To be fair, Trump is a tough customer. He doesn't filter his words, he can fire off insults, and he doesn't respond to reason. But you must admit two things about him. One, he responds to strength. And two, he has forgiven some of his bitter rivals. Just think back to his first term. Trump had a major rivalry with Kim Jong-un. He called the North Korean leader Rocket Man and Maniac, even threatened to launch nukes at him. But the same Donald Trump also reached out to him. He met him thrice in less than 1 year, also exchanged handwritten letters with him, which means you can find ways to work with Donald Trump. Japan's Shinzo Abe did it. Benjamin Netanyahu did it. Emmanuel Macron did it, and India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi did it. But Justin Trudeau simply cannot, and we get it. Trump is not your conventional world leader. Your normal diplomacy will not work with him. But he is the US president-elect. If you want a working relationship, you need to be innovative. You need to display tact and maturity. Neither of those are Trudeau's strengths. Of course, there is a silver lining in all of this. Trudeau's own lawmakers are trying to topple him. He doesn't have a majority in Parliament, and elections are slated for October next year, possibly earlier. So this rivalry with Donald Trump won't last much longer. He has the ear of the US president. His words can make world leaders rage or cheer. He is the first to hit a $400 billion net worth. But this tech titan wants more. I'm talking about Elon Musk. He is building a town, and guess where it is located? In Texas. The US state is home to many of Elon Musk's businesses: SpaceX, Boring, Tesla. They're all headquartered in Texas. So Musk wants to build a town for his employees and call it Starbase. Should the world be excited or scared? Also, why does Elon Musk want a town of his own? How will it work? Who will govern it? And has this been done before? Our next report tells you.
Elon Musk. He is arguably the world's most powerful unelected man. And now, he is moving into Texas, big time. Over the past few years, Musk has expanded his footprint in the US state. He has core businesses in Texas. His auto company Tesla is headquartered there. So is Boring, his tunneling company. Recently, rocket company SpaceX moved to Texas from California. Over time, Musk has built offices, warehouses, and manufacturing plants across the state's counties. But now, he is taking the Texas obsession to another level. Musk is doing something that few industry titans have done. He is trying to create his own company town. A gleaming, utopian city. A grand showcase of the futuristic vision of this tech titan. It will be developed in coastal South Texas, and it is about 4 square kilometers, a little larger than New York's Central Park. Musk hopes to call it Starbase, and he has talked about it quite often. For years, the plan was not moving forward. It is a long bureaucratic process. There should be a certain number of residents in the area, and a new municipality needs support from a majority of voters. So over time, SpaceX employees have moved into the town. They have set up temporary housing, some of which are trailers. And this month, these employees took the first major step towards the Starbase dream. They filed an official petition. It says that Starbase will have a community of about 500 residents. Nearly everyone is a renter and works at SpaceX. The town could create its own police or fire departments. Create municipal utility systems, such as for water and road maintenance. And hold elections. No one knows exactly why Musk or his employees want a town of their own. Question is, should we be celebrating or worrying? While it is not common, the world has seen some corporation-built towns. Historically, such towns have been mostly hellish. Like Colorado's coal mining towns owned by John Rockefeller in the early 1900s. They were policed by armed guards. No one could enter or leave. Few houses had water supply. The miners went on strike in 1913, the conflict turned violent. Culminating in the Ludlow Massacre of 1914, which killed at least 19 people. It is unlikely that Musk's utopian model would follow this path. It is possibly going to be along the lines of Indian city of Jamshedpur, founded by the Tatas. Or, the UK's Bourneville, built by the Cadbury family. And Musk is not alone, other tech giants are planning to join the club. Google wants to build neighborhoods around its headquarters in the Bay Area. They will have about 7,000 homes, mostly for Google employees. Meta is working on Willow Village in California. This is a neighborhood with 1,700 homes. Again, mostly for Meta employees. Musk has the same idea, on steroids. But he is attracted by Texas' relatively low taxes and loose planning regulations. Plus, the Starbase petition demands an election where voters, or mostly SpaceX employees, will cast a ballot and elect the new city's officials. They suggest that the major will be a SpaceX employee, the SpaceX security manager. Experts fear that this may lead to unchecked power. But then again, Mustopia would only be part of the norm for the tech tycoon.
In Africa, Mozambique has been in the headlines. It's a country in the southeast. There was a massive prison break in the capital, Maputo. It took place on Christmas Day. More than 1,500 inmates escaped. Most of them are still on the loose. Let's show you some footage from the prison break. You can see the prisoners gathering in the open. Then they started running towards the same direction. A prison wall was knocked down and hundreds managed to escape. It wasn't a simple getaway, though. At least 33 people died during the prison riot and 15 others were injured. The riot and subsequent prison break took place at a high-security facility. It holds dangerous criminals and terrorists from Mozambique's restive north. Mozambique's police chief gave a grim update on the situation.
This confrontation with the inmates in the vicinity of the central prison resulted in 33 dead and 15 wounded. In subsequent search operations for the inmates, we managed to recapture 150 inmates who are currently in several police stations. What we expect after the escape of 1,534 inmates who committed major crimes in the country is that in the next 40 or 48 hours, there will be a dizzying increase in crime in Maputo. Increase of all types of crimes because they are specialists in all types of crimes. There will be an increase in robberies, assaults, rape of women, car theft, armed robberies, even kidnappings.
90% of the inmates were still on the loose as of last night. Mozambique is preparing for a spike in crime, as you just heard him say, and possibly terror. At least 30 terrorists were among the people who escaped. So how did this happen? How did the wall at a high-security prison get knocked down? There are two versions of the story. Mozambique's justice minister says the riot started inside the prison and the prisoners then managed to escape. But the police commander has a different outlook.
The circumstances that occurred during the attack at around 1 p.m. Today, a group of subversive demonstrators approached the vicinity of the prison, making noise with their protests, demanding to release the prisoners serving their sentences there. They took them out of the cells, or out of that prison, about 1,534 inmates. The protesters took them out and left with them.
He says protesters broke the prisoners out. This is a serious allegation, especially considering the situation in Mozambique. The country has been in turmoil for weeks, ever since the general election on October 9th. Mozambique's ruling Frelimo party won the election, but the opposition says the election was rigged. The party that came second says that they are the real winners. They say that their candidate, Venancio Mondlane, should be the next president. His supporters have been protesting against the election results, but to no avail. The country's top court confirmed Frelimo's victory on Monday. The party has governed Mozambique since it became independent in 1975. That's 49 years and counting. And with the latest win, they have extended their rule. The top court's nod came on Monday, and it led to a fresh round of protests. At least 21 people have died over this week. The total death toll since the election is around 150. There has been widespread violence and looting and regular border closures as well. The opposition candidate, Mondlane, has fled Mozambique, but he's still calling for more protests. He says the latest violence is a plot by the ruling party to declare an emergency.
The same police who were murdering before are almost encouraging people to attack, to steal. It's more than clear that this vandalism has to do with a plan that was already made, that wasn't successful before, which was to declare a state of emergency, which didn't work, and now they're doing it again.
You have Mozambique's protesters on one side and the government on the other. Both accuse each other of fomenting the violence. Mozambique has been left crippled by the unrest, and now it has to deal with criminals on the loose as well. We'll keep tracking this story as it develops. Our next story is about food. We've all heard of the Michelin Guide. It rates restaurants. And those restaurants then become cultural icons, the go-to places in any country. India is now trying to replicate that with what's known as the Annapurna certificate. It's awarded to Indian restaurants abroad. And this award is not for fancy decor or gastronomical sorcery. It's just eateries that help connect people to Indian food, to their culture. Our next report tells you more about it.
From the bustling streets of New York to Sweden's serene towns, the aroma of Indian cuisine is everywhere. Indian restaurants are all over the world, and now there's a new initiative spotlighting their excellence. Enter the Annapurna Certificate, a culinary honour with a purpose. It's an initiative by the Indian government, one that celebrates the true essence of Indian food abroad. The award is named after Indian goddess Annapurna, the provider of food and nourishment. Any Indian restaurant abroad can qualify, but only those that stand out can win. These are restaurants that go beyond just serving food. Those that actively promote Indian cuisine, especially among local communities. The goal is to uncover hidden gems, everyday eateries that connect people to the rich tapestry of Indian flavours. In 2023, the first set of awards were handed out. 6 restaurants received the Annapurna certification. Amber India Restaurant in the United States, Balaji Dosai in Sri Lanka, Indian Street Food and Company in Sweden, Mumtaz Mahal Restaurant in Oman, Namaste Indian Restaurant in Mongolia, and Naans and Curries in Costa Rica. All of these winners reflect diversity and excellence. From the shores of Oman to the bustling streets of Stockholm. These restaurants aren't just eateries, they are ambassadors of India's rich culinary heritage. Which makes this Annapurna certificate more than just an award. It's a cultural beacon, guiding food lovers to the best representations of Indian cuisine. Because food at the end of the day is soft power. Any cuisine is a form of cultural diplomacy. Look at the Michelin star system, an iconic symbol of excellence in the culinary world. It has not only redefined fine dining, but also turned restaurants into cultural destinations. People add Michelin star restaurants to their travel itinerary, waiting for months to snag a reservation. Similarly, the Annapurna certificate can help shine a spotlight on the global impact of Indian cuisine. With over 30 regional varieties, Indian food is as diverse as the country itself. It's a melting pot of cultures, spices, and techniques. Each bite tells a unique tale. In 2022, Indian cuisine was voted the 5th best in the world, with 460 dishes contributing to this popularity. And this isn't just a cultural phenomenon, it's also a significant contributor to the economy. In the United Kingdom alone, the Indian restaurant sector employs around 100,000 people. So this initiative wants to highlight all of that. Because at the end of the day, food is more than just sustenance, and it's more than a seal of authenticity. It's a passport to the true essence of Indian flavours. Because food isn't just sustenance, it's a connection, a way to find home, one meal at a time.
Have you ever walked into battle knowing that you will most likely fail? Probably not. Yet most of us are forging ahead, taking stock of 2024, prepping to do better in 2025, and we have a shared weapon of choice: New Year's resolutions. Well, it's that time of the year again. The days are shorter, the weather is colder, and the air is thick with vows to reinvent ourselves. It is self-improvement season. 6 in 10 of us are making New Year's resolutions, despite knowing very well that most of us will fail. According to surveys, 88% people who set New Year's resolutions fail them within the first 2 weeks. And nothing spoils the start of a new year like a long list of promises you know you're going to break. So this time, how do we do better? How do we choose a New Year's resolution and stick to it? Let me give you the most obvious tip. Any resolution you make while drunk or crying on New Year's Eve should not count. With that out of the way, here is what experts say. First, figure out what not to do. Tackle expectations, your own and those that you have internalized. I'll explain that. Often we disguise self-criticism as self-improvement. We say things like, don't eat carbs, don't be lazy, don't spend so much money. Is this what your resolution sounds like? If it does, then it seems to be curated by someone who does not like you, because this is no way to motivate yourself. According to research, you're more likely to achieve goals if they motivate you to do something instead of demanding that you stop doing something. So the key is to reword your resolutions. Apparently, it increased the success rate by 25%. Give it a shot. Now, despite all of this, some resolutions will get betrayed right away, and others will become monthly reminders of your ongoing failure. That brings us to the second step. Figure out what to do and how to do it in advance. According to psychologists, this approach has the highest chance of working. Think like an MBA graduate. If you gasped, let me clarify. This approach is a corporate strategy. It was devised in the 1980s by a management consultant. It has been criticized on several occasions. Critics say it is too goal-oriented, yet it is ubiquitous, because data proves that it works. So if you aren't a woke flag bearer, I would like to introduce you to SMART. It's an acronym, SMART. It stands for Specific, Measurable, Attainable, Relevant, Time-Bound, SMART. This approach says, don't set endless goals. That's a one-way ticket to the downward shame spiral. First, be very clear about what you want. For example, instead of saying, I want to be better, set a more specific goal, like, I want to be fitter. If that is your goal, make it more specific. Say things like, I want to hit the gym 4 times a week. Second, have a goal that you can measure. Start small. It may sound counterintuitive, but small changes can lead to great success. And make the goal quantifiable, because without it, a goal is just a dream. Third, have a realistic goal. Think about the time and resources you will need to achieve it. Fourth, make sure that it's something that you want, not something that you should want. And fifth, set deadlines. Have bite-sized goals and a timeline. This is said to be one of the smartest ways to go about it. To choose a resolution that promises success. You see, a New Year's resolution is like an annual contract with yourself. It is automatically high pressure, and any time is a good time to change. So you can ignore the whole shebang, but if you do plan to go ahead with it, cut yourself some slack and know that with a little care and preparation, you can resolve to win your New Year's resolution. We say all the best. If you have prepared a resolution, great. If not, do not worry, you're not alone. The whole internet is confused about how to welcome 2025, mostly because it's happening so fast. One moment, you're making Dalgona coffee in lockdown. Next thing you know, AI is taking over jobs. We had 2 Olympics in between that. Just let that sink in. 2 Olympics in the blink of an eye. I know we say that time is flying, but someone find the brakes on this thing. Because next year, people born in the year 2000 will be 25 years old. It's a hot topic on the internet right now. Between resolutions and anxiety, we are ready to welcome yet another year. Hopefully, the memes will soften the blow. Now it's time for Vantage Shots, images that tell the story. The Israeli military blows up several tunnels in the Gaza Strip. A drone aerial tour showcases the White House holiday decorations, and rescuers help skiers stranded on a broken chair lift in the French Alps. Finally, we're taking you back in history. On this day in 2004, the Indian Ocean tsunami ravaged coastlines across 12 countries. It was caused by a large underwater earthquake near Sumatra. The tsunami caused widespread destruction and claimed more than 200,000 lives. It remains one of the worst natural disasters on record. Today, countries like India, Sri Lanka and Thailand mark the 20th anniversary of this disaster with vigils and prayers. We're leaving you on that note. Thank you for watching. We'll see you tomorrow.